Well, hello, and welcome to Landscaping Southwest Television. I'm Christine Cornels, and we're going to show you how to transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. The Southwest region is unique with its extreme temperature changes, the abundant sunshine, and limited rainfall. Therefore, landscaping can be somewhat more challenging in this area than in other wetter regions of the United States. So on this show, we will be talking with experts who are experienced in successfully landscaping the Southwest. We want to help you create that beautiful outdoor space you've been dreaming about. Join us today on Landscaping Southwest. So glad you're with us on this episode of Landscaping Southwest. We're going to continue our discussion on xeriscaping principles. And the guest we have today is Wes Brittingham, who is with Plants of the Southwest. Wes, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you could share with the audience a little bit about your background and your experience landscaping here in the Albuquerque area is where we're talking to you.
Yeah. So I grew up in Albuquerque. I've lived here all my life pretty much, and have been involved in horticulture or landscaping in one form or another for nearly 40 years now. I've watched the city change. I've watched ideas about landscaping change from traditional, wet landscapes full of bluegrass sod to a more xeric approach with the natives.
Which must be a wonderful thing for you to see that happening.
Yeah, we live in the desert, and we need to take that into extreme consideration for what we're doing. Water is a very precious resource here.
Yeah, so, it really is. And we're standing in a beautiful place. This is actually the Plants of the Southwest location here in Albuquerque. Tell us about what you have here.
Well, Plants of the Southwest is a wonderful native plant nursery, native and adaptive plant. We've been around also for about 40 years and working with people to incorporate plants that make sense into their landscapes here. So we offer a wide range of beautiful xeric plants.
Oh, it's fabulous. And actually, we're able to talk to you in early spring.
Yeah.
And we've come here a couple times earlier than this, and it just continues to get more beautiful and green and colorful.
Yeah. Every day is a little more, yeah.
Well, and Wes was able to share with us the xeriscaping principle of planning and design on a previous episode. And if you didn't get a chance to see that, I encourage you to watch. And on this episode, we wanted to ask you about the principle of preparing soil. If you could just give us a little tidbit of what that means.
Yeah, so there's a wide range of geographic distribution of soil types from the foothills to the West Mesa. So we tend to ask a lot of questions of people when they're asking us about how to garden. If you live in the foothills and the alluvial fans, it's decomposed granite. It's more clay and sand and silt from the wandering river in the valley. And then it gets very sandy on the west side of the river, so that will dictate what you need to do to the soil or whether you need to do something to the soil.
Great. Well, when we come back, I'm going to ask Wes to share a little bit more about how you can identify what kind of soil you have in your yard and what you might be having to think about to amend it. So we'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jill Brown, your landscape coach for Landscaping Southwest TV. And today I wanted to talk to you about just how to even begin designing your backyard. I know it can be frustrating to walk outside to see a blank slate of dirt. A lot of us here in the arid Southwest have dirt and weeds and a few other annoying things in our backyards. So one of the first things I like to do with my clients is get a plan view of your home. And we can do that easily through Google Earth. Google Earth is, if you type into Google or type into anything and search for Google Earth, you can download the app. And what you do is you type in your address on your computer, Albuquerque, New Mexico, you type in your address, you hit search, and there it comes up, the Google Earth image of your home.
Well, I am holding an Oya, which is an ancient form of irrigation. It's a clever way to conserve water, and John Bolton of East Central Ministries is going to explain to us what is an Oya and how does it work?
So it's porous clay. We fire it without any glaze. You just get the right setting so that water will sweat through it. Once you fill it with water, water will sweat through to the roots of your plants.
And how often do you have to refill it?
Roughly 24 to 48 hours for the water to drop through.
Okay. Can you show us actually an Oya in action?
Sure. So we just planted these the other day. This is one that we just put in.
I can see it's all wet around here.
It is. So we filled it with water about a day and a half ago. So we buried the Oya about 3/4. We're kind of up to the neck so that the neck is exposed for easy access of pouring water into it.
Great. Well, thank you, John. And you can get more information about how to use Oyas and how you can use it in your yard at landscapingsouthwest.com.
Go under File, Save, and save the image. And then you have an image of your home. You can print that out, and there you have it. You have a plan that you can start with designing. So as you can see, we have a home here with a backyard. So what I like to do is I just simply draw the shape of the home and draw the boundaries of the home. This is our home. This is our front door. This is our public space. And this is our private space. We want to draw out what do we see in those areas. In our private space, let's say we see outdoor seating, outdoor dining, maybe a veggie garden, maybe a playground. So we just simply say, okay, playground, dining, and veggie garden. Okay, our public space, maybe we want curb appeal, maybe we want a little bit of shade area for our vehicle if we have to park outside on our driveway, and maybe we want a seating area so we can sit on our porch and talk to our neighbors. So let's say we say seating, shade, and curb appeal. So we want it to look nice. So let's think about where would those spaces go? Okay, a dining area. Well, probably dining would go closest to our home. So let's say we draw a circle for dining. Dining. Playground. We want to be able to see the playground from our dining area outside. So let's say here's a big space. We can put a playground. Veggie garden. We want to make sure that has some good sun. So maybe we have an opening over here for a veggie garden. We could think about how large is a table for a dining area, right? What would we have in a dining area? We'd have a table and we'd have some chairs. All right, well, let's measure our indoor dining table like this one. And we say, how large would that be? We say, oh, well, maybe that's 3 feet by 6 feet. We want to have 6 people sitting at it. When you start to think about the spaces and you break them up from the big picture of private and public, break that down into the smaller areas of what you're after, what you'd like to have there, and then break that smaller area down into the elements that go into it, planning your yard starts to become a little bit simpler. So those are just my tips for how to get started on designing your yard, and I hope you find those useful. Thanks.
Well, Wes, before we took a break, you were mentioning different kinds of soil that we have here in Albuquerque, clay and sand. Can you share a little bit more about those, the characteristics that they have, and what the challenges are to growing things there?
So for folks that live in the valley, there are a lot of pockets of pretty heavy clay soil. And clay is a really fine particle, so it tends to either hold on to moisture or when it dries out actually become hydrophobic and repel moisture. So it can make your watering challenges and your planting challenges a little greater.
Sure.
Sand, on the other hand, moisture just moves right through, so it's really difficult to get enough water to the roots of a plant in sandy soil.
Okay, and as a result, so say I want to plant something in clay, what might I need to do to amend the soil to make it more amenable to growing things? Or are there certain plants that can grow straight in the clay?
Yeah, there are a lot of plants that are naturally adapted to clay soil, so you can certainly choose from a palette of those type of plants.
Okay.
But when you add an organic amendment like a compost. It's, wood chips, broken down organic plant material, and those pieces actually help separate the fine particles of clay, add some organic material that helps to retain nutrients, and require you to water a little bit less, both in clay and in sand. So I think the compost has the same benefit in both sandy soil and clay soil as far as water retention and nutrient availability.
Oh, okay. And then sand, kind of back to the sandy soil, what are some of the unique things we need to think about in terms of growing in sandy soil?
Well, I think sand, because the water moves through so quickly, we talked about drip irrigation earlier, and you might have to water less duration, less length of run time, but a little more often in sandy soil because it just sort of moves through and it's kind of pointless. You want to target the root zone, where clay you would probably water much less often. So watering is sort of opposite in a way on those.
And that's where folks who are trying to decide what to do, they can come to places like your place here, Plants of the Southwest, and share with you kind of, here's my soil, here's the type of soil I have, here's the type of plants that I would like to grow, what do I need to do? Yeah,
so typically that's what we would ask when a customer comes into Plants of the Southwest. Where do you live? What kind of mulch do you use? How are you going to water? And by asking questions like, what is the perfect plant? How tall, how wide? We can help people to figure out what exactly they need to do as far as amendment.
Yeah, and we're sitting in front of a large pile of dirt right here too.
Yeah.
What is this that you have here?
Well, this is actually...
Looks like healthy dirt, actually.
It's recycled potting soil from eons of plants that fail in pots. We've planted some cover crops on it in the past, some nitrogen fixers, some soil stabilizers, and now we're using it as a demonstration garden for our wildflower mixes. So by the end of this summer, this should be a lovely bed of our high desert wildflower mix.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll have to come back actually and see what it looks like to be able to do that. Yeah. Well, and actually I want to go back to amendments of soil. What are the different types of materials? Because you can probably buy things from nurseries. You can probably use composting material. What's recommended?
Yeah. So compost. There are a few options. We use a locally produced compost predominantly here, that's manufactured in the South Valley from recycled yard waste, mixed with manure, ground and heated for a while.
I've heard the term black gold for soil. What is that?
Well, I think, one of the soil types that we don't have much of here would be called loam, just that good, rich, bottomland, black farming soil.
Well, Wes, thank you so much, and we look forward to actually exploring more areas that you have here at Plants of the Southwest and seeing what kind of soil you have and what you've done to amend it. So we'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest. Great, thanks for letting us sit here. Catherine Uhas. She's a water conservation officer with the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. And I wanted to ask you, how have we done in New Mexico and in the Albuquerque area in terms of reducing water use over the years?
Well, an amazing job. Our customers should just be patting themselves on the back and their neighbors on the back for this work. We have reduced our outdoor water use by 60%. Since 1995, when we started the conservation program. That's
tremendous.
It is. And outdoor water, I mean, we want to save all water, but outdoor is bigger because indoors we get the water back at the treatment plant and can reuse it. But outdoors, it's just gone.
Right,
so 60% of that is less. Oh, it's wonderful.
That's great.
Wonderful.
Well, congratulations, and congratulations to you, those of you who've been incorporating water-saving tips. And I did want to ask you, what are some tips people can use to save water outdoors?
Well, one of the biggest that I recommend is make sure you're not watering every day. When you water every day, your plants are lazy, they're soft, their roots aren't deep. You want to let your plants work for that water. So every second day or every third day, if you really want to push it, you know. So do that, especially with your lawn, you know. So a xeric plant could go as long as a week between waterings, but your lawn, you know, every third day, that would be a great thing to strive for.
Sure. Okay. Any other tips?
Other tips: let your lawn grow a little taller. Then it actually provides some shade, so less water is evaporating out of your lawn. That's another good one. Outdoors, turn on your irrigation system and look at where all the water is going. So many people water appropriately early in the morning, 3, 4 a.m. when they don't see the water. So it's really critical that you know what's happening with your irrigation system.
Sure.
And turning it on and watching it for, go through the full cycle. What happens to that water?
Okay.
Just some afternoon, hang out for a little while. It's just 20 minutes probably. I hope it's
But
just
it's worth
20
the
minutes.
effort,
Yes,
though, right?
yes, it really is worth the effort. And you'll see where the problems are.
Great. And where can people go to get more tips for how to save water?
Our website, abcwua.org.
Great. All right. Well, hope you consider some of those. Thanks very much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lily Metzer, and I'm the producer of the Albuquerque Home and Garden Show. I'd like to invite you out to our 22nd annual event at Expo New Mexico, April 25th and 26th. This year we have several new landscaping companies. We have over 300 booths with products and services for your home and garden. Everything from windows and doors, flooring, to gourmet food, arts and crafts. Two-day event at Expo New Mexico.
Great. Well, Wes, you were mentioning that amending soil in part depends on what you plan to do, what plants you're going to put there.
Right.
What do you need to do in terms of amending a vegetable garden?
Well, I think the vegetable garden is probably the most heavily amended part of your landscape, and basically we've amended the entire root zone for each of the beds that we're growing vegetables in here. So this is our vegetable garden area here at Plants of the Southwest. We use this as a demonstration garden for our customers and also to grow food for the employees. So this is
that's great. That's really nice. Your employees must really appreciate it.
Well, some live in apartments. They don't have gardening space, so they can take fresh food home from work.
Oh, sure. Or if you're hungry and you've been working out all day and you need a little bit of
we can pick some of the asparagus a little bit later here.
That actually sounds good.
So this is an area that's been pretty heavily amended. We've used quite a bit of compost in the soil here, and you can see it's got some nice color and texture to it, and it was just recently watered, so it's good and moist. This is sort of a waffle garden, modified waffle garden. It's an ancient Anasazi or Native American method of gardening where you garden in pits so that the water is harvested from rainwater or runoff and gets a chance to soak into the soil.
So it doesn't actually flood the plants? I mean, they don't get too much water with that?
I think it would be hard to get too much water to a vegetable garden.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, and later we'll probably use some straw mulch. Once the seeds are all up, we'll probably mulch the beds to also conserve moisture and help lower the soil temperature and keep the weeds down. But this way we can flood a bed and get it really deeply watered. Like we'll have carrots and things which actually need the moisture down to develop a good root.
Right, okay. How deep did you go?
Well, these beds are dug about a foot or so deep, and we have added compost and amended it in that way, and we also incorporate the mulch after the straw breaks down. After a year or two, we just kind of turn that in as well.
Well, so what else are you growing here? You mentioned carrots. We're actually here in the same row with cilantro.
Right, so this right now is all cool season vegetables. Peas, carrots, arugula, chard. We have leeks and garlic growing over here. We have a cage that we actually grow potatoes in so that we can mound up the soil as the potatoes are growing and make it easier to harvest and produce more potatoes. Later, these beds will be done with chilies and tomatoes and beans and the warm season stuff, but that won't be for another couple of months.
Yeah, because you mentioned in one of our previous episodes, actually, Wes shared with us when you're planting in the spring to do those cold season plants. Because you know there might still be frost coming, which there will be in Albuquerque.
Yeah, we may have frost in the next couple of days, but these are all cold season vegetables, so they're perfectly suited to that. I won't worry about covering them or anything.
Okay, great. And I understand you actually have some of that black gold soil we were talking about.
Yeah, we can take a look at how the compost, I'm sorry, not the compost, the mulch just has broken down naturally and turned the soil into rich black gold.
And what do you have growing there?
Well, amazingly, most of it is in the pathways. We just sort of top dress with mulch to cover the bare ground, and it's just part of the decomposition process. What I should do is shovel all that stuff up and use it in the landscape and then recreate it with more mulch down the road.
Oh, right, sure. It's helpful for that. Well, great. Yeah, I'd love to go see it. Yeah.
So what we want to talk about here is the black gold that we mentioned a little earlier.
Yes.
You see this bark mulch on the ground, and being an organic material, it just breaks down and really helps to enrich the soil. So if we dig down underneath, you can just see house super rich and crumbly.
Oh, wow.
So this is the black gold. That's just, we'll find all kinds of earthworms in here. So this is just terrific soil for your garden.
Sure.
And this is strictly the organic material with no fabric, no plastic under it, just the moisture breaking down and enriching the soil. It's the best thing you can do to your entire landscape.
That's
just
fabulous.
using a great organic mulch. It could be bark, it could be pecan shells, it could be wood chips, just about anything. Leaf litter. Don't rake up your leaves and toss them in the dump. Spread them on your landscape. So yeah.
Keep them to keep your soil healthy.
It really just recycles all the nutrients and helps give that great organic profile of the soil.
And do you have to, at any time during the year, kind of scrape it up or turn it over? Or,
no, but
like
it's interesting because this is really just kind of a mulch under the beds here. It would benefit the landscape if I were to periodically shovel this black gold up, throw it throughout the nursery, the vegetable garden, into the landscape, and then just start the process again. This is basically a 6-inch thick compost pile.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Wes.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back on Landscaping Southwest. Yep. I love these plants here, too. Those are beautiful. Well, Wes, if I'm interested in amending my soil and possibly using compost, but live, a lot of us in the Albuquerque area live in relatively small apartments maybe, or homes with small yards. What can we do to compost in a small area?
Well, I've actually started composting in plastic garbage cans and 15-gallon plastic nursery buckets.
Yeah?
The plastic actually helps hold the moisture in the compost, which is one of the more challenging things with having a compost pile. Plus, they're mobile. You can move them around, and it's small enough that it doesn't take up a lot of space.
And you have to poke holes in the bottom to let it drain?
Yeah. The garbage can that I use, a plastic garbage can, I just took an electric drill and drilled holes in the bottom and the bottom about 1.5 foot of the garbage can, so it drains nicely. It doesn't stay wet and become stinky and anaerobic.
Right, okay. And then you end up using that for your
I use the
garden.
compost. Yeah, I use it in my vegetable garden. I spread it around around my landscape.
Right.
And if you don't have room for any kind of composting where you live, that's where the bagged products come in, buying compost from a place like Plants of the Southwest.
Right, okay. Well, great. Well, Wes, we're so glad to be able to have you on the show, and we're glad you'll be able to join us on this episode as well here at Plants of the Southwest. And tell us, are there any upcoming events with Plants of the Southwest?
Well, I think we're just getting into the vegetable growing season. So here in Albuquerque, our last frost date is typically late April, early March. So we'll be bringing in our vegetable plants probably late April, and that times perfectly with the opening of The Kitchen, our restaurant at the Santa Fe store. It's a seasonal vegetarian cafe, and dealing with local produce from local gardens for the most part.
That sounds fabulous. I remember you talking about that on a previous episode. We're definitely going to have to come up and join you.
Oh, it's wonderful. Olive is a terrific chef. Yeah.
Great. And where can people find you here in Albuquerque?
Here in Albuquerque, we are at 6680 4th Street Northwest. We're in the village of Los Ranchos. We're about 2 blocks north of Osuna. And in Santa Fe, we're on Agua Fria, just west of Siler Road.
Okay. And any other tips or any other closing things you want to say about the principle of xeriscaping with amending soil?
Well, soil is the soul of the garden. It's the root of everything. So everything begins with good soil. And pay attention to it, take care of it, and you'll benefit. Yeah.
Great. Well, Wes, thank you so much. Such a delight to have you on the show.
Great.
And thanks for joining us again on this episode of Landscaping Southwest. Please join us next time as we help you transform your property into a beautiful oasis of outdoor living. See you next time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, should we walk over with the black gold?
Show you how to transform your property into a